Do you have a great admiration for people who don't even exist? Do you know histories of fake worlds better than you know your own? Do you geek out? If so, geek out with us here now. It's the Geek for All Show.
Hello. It is indeed the Geek for All Show. Let's actually turn this down and get something a little bit more appropriate, because tonight we're doing a special episode. We're going to be talking about Gene Wilder. We were originally going to be doing Star Trek because it's the 50th anniversary. We'll do that next time, and we'll get really good in on Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry. But we're going to focus on a different Gene, because unfortunately the world has just lost Gene Wilder. I'm joined, of course, as always, by Professor Weirdfuck, Sploosh, and our head panelist, Sam.
Hey, guys.
All right, it was the 28th.
Yeah.
We woke up to find that Mr. Wilder was no longer with us, and so we thought that there was nothing that we could possibly do other than a tribute to Gene Wilder tonight.
Absolutely.
So to talk about Gene, you gotta remember that he's one of those actors who didn't start in Hollywood per se. He started on the stage, and eventually he found his way into film. And here's what I love about Gene knowing that, is that with a lot of other actors who have made the transition from stage into film, there's kind of this transitional period where you have to kind of figure out what you're doing. Everybody loves to make, speaking of Star Trek, everybody loves to make fun of William Shatner, and we'll get into this a little bit next time, but one of the things you have to recognize is that he was a Shakespearean actor. And so was Patrick Stewart, but the reason Patrick Stewart got away with not being as big was just his voice. His voice did so much for him on stage. He could be heard, you felt the presence, you could just walk on and have that. Shatner wasn't like that. Shatner learned to act by being big and showing himself off on stage, where you had to have that bigness if you didn't have a voice like Patrick Stewart.
Right.
Yeah. And so, he kind of wound up being a little bit, silly at occasions. Now, Gene Wilder, for all intents and purposes, should have had exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
100% should have had exactly the same problem.
100%, yeah.
Didn't. I found out that his first major break was actually as a really, really bit part in Bonnie and Clyde.
That's true.
I went back and I watched that, and it's the Mortician, which I'd never really picked up on before. And even in that, that subtle but brilliant Gene Wilder thing comes out, that he's, and he had to have been bigger than that on stage. So he instinctively knew to pull that back when he finally got to the camera, and you had this guy who had that energy, who had that stage performance energy, but knew when to put that out there, and knew when to just allow the subtle smiles and the shifting of the eye. Oh my God, nobody shifted eyes like Gene Wilder.
Well, dude, I mean, because he was also, wasn't he a comic too?
No, he didn't do stand-up or anything, but he was...
Because, I was doing research, and one of the big things, his label is not actor, it says comic. The first thing when you look it up. That's why I wanted to ask, but...
I think it's just that he's been involved in so many different processes of... I've never seen anything...
Yeah. I'm not saying I've seen him in comedy or doing stand-up comedy or anything like that, but it's just funny. I wanted to see if anyone knew about that, but
I don't know anything about a stand-up career or anything like that, or even a vaudeville type of situation or anything along those lines.
Well, I was watching this interview with the comedian, or listening to an interview with the comedian Mark Maron.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about Mark Maron used to hang out with Sam Kinison. And we all know Sam Kinison, right? The angry fucking troll-looking motherfucker.
Yes.
Hilarious. But he was talking to his interviewer saying, I know where he got his bit from. And he's like, the interviewer's just like, where'd he get his bit? And he's like, well, I can't really tell you outright. I feel like I'd be cheating him. And then he starts the
interviewer's
just couldn't get it.
No.
He just couldn't get it. While he was giving little hints, he's like, Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder is where Sam Kinison got his kind of bit where he would just Gene Wilder would just go na 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 that type of thing, and I just thought that was interesting.
It wouldn't surprise me, because he he, again, being part of, the theater world a little bit, and then breaking into film like that, especially breaking in kind of, like, with Mel Brooks, because Bonnie and Clyde, Mel didn't have really anything to do with, but during, like, that whole era is when he first met him, because, I don't think it was Bonnie and Clyde, but Mel Brooks' wife, girlfriend at the time, was the one who first met Gene and then introduced him to Mel, and the two of them just hit it off immediately.
Right.
And I mean, just being in that crowd, in that circle, like, it wouldn't surprise me that, like, yeah, he influenced the way that a lot of, stand-up comics were going to do things. Because, he was hanging out in that kind of crowd. That was just the group of people he was in. And, I think it's totally appropriate to give him comedian even though he never did, like, stand-up or anything like that, he worked on comedies, not exclusively, but almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And he was a comedic genius. He absolutely was a comedian. He was, Mel Brooks talks about, I believe it was the filming of Young Frankenstein. Recently they just did an interview with him. It seemed like it actually was before he had passed away, but they kind of brought it out, like, right afterward.
Right.
And so he talks about this one night that Gene was having a really hard time. They needed this scene, though. It had to absolutely go to like press or whatever, that they had to start doing the editing on it and everything. That scene needed to happen, and so he convinced him to, like, stick it out and do the thing. He was feeling really tired, and he's like, what would help you out? And he's like, I don't know, maybe some chocolate. Gets him some chocolate. And he's like, all right, I want you to drink this. And he got a cup of coffee. And Gene Wilder apparently doesn't drink coffee at all. He's just not. And he's like, I don't drink coffee. He's like, drink the coffee. I don't drink coffee. Tonight, drink the coffee. And he said that he might have overdid it a little bit, because Gene just suddenly got like, wow. And, but he said that even under the stress of being tired and the sudden, like, rise, like, in the sugars and everything, one take. Filmed it twice just to be a professional about it. Used the first take. I mean, that's the kind of guy Gene was. He didn't need a lot of takes. He
just rolled with it.
He rolled with it, and he was
fucking owned it. Like,
well,
man. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, a lot of you talk about him owning things and him being this kind of genius, and if you read even just the trivia from Willy Wonka, it's a lot of his decisions about that character that threw the entire cast off. When we were introduced to that character and he trips and he falls.
Oh, wasn't written.
It wasn't written. He did that so that everyone else would be put off, and they would have to assume that everything he did from then on was a lie. That he was they wouldn't know if he was telling the truth or not.
Awesome.
That was the reason for that.
Yeah.
So that they would constantly be questioning him. They couldn't trust him. They were constantly questioning what was going on.
Hey, Jared Leto, take some notes. That's how you
talk
off
method acting.
You know what? You can't say that until we see.
All right. I hold my judgments on that. But honestly, I feel like pretending that you're falling when you're not is way better than sending dead rats to people and shit. Just saying.
He was fucking lied to. We're not getting in this. We're
All
not
right,
getting on this.
All right.
We'll talk about Suicide Squad next time. But
all right. But no, you're right. Willy Wonka. Let's talk Willy Wonka really quick, because
real quick before we go into Willy Wonka. Oh wait, no. After this should be after, because let me guess. Let me just take a quick guess. Willy Wonka is the first time all of us have seen Gene Wilder.
Actually, no.
Oh, are you going to be the odd man out
I am gonna be
Blazing Saddles?
I am going to be the Blazing Saddles, motherfucker.
No, I
okay,
saw Willy Wonka.
The one time my dad decided to show me something that, decided not to show me something that was too adult was that. Yeah.
Oh, no,
even though I saw The Crow when I was 5. Like,
my parents had this weird thing where they didn't want us to necessarily see a whole movie, but there were certain iconic bits that they were just like, we have to be able to joke with our kids about this.
Right.
So I saw the last part of Blazing Saddles, and I saw the last part of the Blues Brothers several times before I saw the entire movie, because they weren't cool in the rest of it, but everything up through the fourth wall breaking in Blazing Saddles and the car chase of epicness in the Blues Brothers, they both thought were totally appropriate for kids and were hysterical. And so I was but that still was my first introduction to Gene Wilder.
You want to know what's funny? I'm sorry, I got to interject.
All right.
I got to interject. Just because we're talking about Blues Brothers, short little quick anecdote. You notice when they're trashing up the mall, the car chase when they're trashing up the mall, right before they do that, and the guy is at the toy store and he's buying a Grover,
Mm-hmm.
and the toy store clerk is just like, "Do you need anything else?" "Yes." "Do you have a Miss Piggy?" And the cop chasing the Blues Brothers in that scene is the voice of. It's Frank Oz.
Oh, is it
Oh,
really?
yeah. No kidding.
Of Grover, Miss Piggy, Yoda, all the.
I had kind of vaguely known that Frank Oz was in Blues, but I just didn't realize that that's
He was
where.
the cop with the little mustache and
Yeah.
bald. Yeah, that dude. Yeah.
That's of course, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay,
okay,
okay. Side
anyway.
tangent. But you know what? You got a point. I think most people, our age bracket anyway,
I think
the
at
late
least our age
20s,
bracket.
yeah, in our late 20s, early 30s, knew him from Willy Wonka. I think you're right. So let's start there.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, like we said, like he was throwing cast members off the entire time, and I don't know who started the idea of let's screw with everybody. But it certainly fed both ways because not only he was doing stuff, he was in on it with like the writers and stuff. Like the tunnel scene is one of the most like iconic and famous scenes from that movie.
Oh yeah.
And the best part was that they didn't do any kind of like editing tricks. It was just camera angles that they used to film all the different parts at the same time and everything. They didn't have to like cut between. So everything that you were seeing in that tunnel, all of the actors were seeing as well.
Good old-fashioned trick photography.
And they were seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
There was no mention of it in the script. They were not allowed to see what they were about to go into. All of their terror and their confusion is genuine.
That's awesome. That's great. And apparently, okay, and let's also talk about this real quick, since they did a remake on Netflix of The Little Prince.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder was in The Little Prince 1974, apparently, and I haven't seen this. I need to see it because I saw the new Little Prince. I still need to read the book. I didn't even know it was a book. But he plays the fox, apparently. And that was a 1974 one.
So that's right around Blazing Saddles. basically.
Right. Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. That's like the same year.
Yeah.
Same year.
But so this would be a little bit before Willy Wonka, because Wonka, I want to say, is 76 or something like that.
Wonka's 71.
71. Wonka
Yeah.
was first. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wonka was first. That was like one of his big.
That was
Frankenstein.
you know you're right. And then it was like a year after
I
that.
mean,
Young
producers.
Frankenstein, I think,
Producers, I think, was his first big.
Yes,
role.
that was.
'Cause that
Thank
was
you.
67.
I knew I was. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I knew I was missing something. Okay, so the progress
he
of all
did
this
so good.
is it's Bonnie and Clyde. He meets Mel Brooks
And
during
that's
that
the
era, and
producers.
then
Yeah.
gets on to producers. Does Willy Wonka, and so now he's got that star pull to be able to do things like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Right.
So cool. So actually, all right, cool. So you know, you do that. You got this iconic role. People just now know him as Willy Wonka, and the rest is written in history. Like the thousands of jokes on television shows, memes that have been put out there. You know, Gene Wilder's most famous role is clear that. But then he goes on to do Young Frankenstein, and then Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
And this is some of his most iconic work.
Now, this was my next question
Okay.
for you guys. What is the second memory of you having Gene Wilder?
Oh, I mean, it would be Willy Wonka then, obviously, for me.
Well,
But
for
third,
you.
Third for
no,
me?
no, you didn't see a whole movie. Fuck you. That don't count.
All right, fine.
You saw the end of Blazing Saddles.
Hey, I still first time I saw him.
I think
The
it'd
second time.
Okay,
second,
that's Drew's
like,
second time.
Solid.
Would okay. So if you're gonna go by that logic, then seeing Blazing Saddles through the second time,
Okay.
and then it would be Young Frankenstein.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be the same way. Blazing
way for
Saddles,
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fucked up because it's me too. Okay, well, not fucked up. That's boring. But I don't know. When I was a kid, like Willy Wonka, yes, I always saw.
Oh my God, I
him
watched
as
that
Willy
so many
Wonka.
times, yeah.
I always saw him as Willy Wonka. But the thing that stuck with me the most is when I saw Blazing Saddles when I was like 10 years old. His whole bit of him talking about how he was the greatest gunslinger around, and then that whole monologue. I can't say it all, but it's like playing in my head of how he says it when that little kid shows up. It's so deep when the little kid shows up and he says, "Stick him up, mister," and he throws his gun to the ground. And the little bastard shot me in the ass. But then he mid ends it funny, and then ends it like deep.
Deep, yeah.
Then I crawled myself into the nearest whiskey bottle.
And I've been there ever since. No, it was beautiful. Well, because what was just fantastic about it, not only his delivery, but the writing of him and Mel Brooks in that scene, and Richard Pryor as well, because all three of them were collaborating on that script. In fact, actually, interesting tidbit, Richard Pryor was supposed to be the sheriff for Richard. That role was
awesome.
written for Richard Pryor. But they I can't remember what it was about that Mel felt that they needed somebody a little bit more smooth.
Yeah,
I think
can see
it
that.
was what it was.
Oh yeah, because Richard Pryor was he's great at what he does, but he's more panic.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
very kind
He's
of
very-
out there, kind of just.
But this was also Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder's first project together, and they of course would go on to do, oh my god, so many legendary comedies.
Oh yeah,
Right.
and-
oh well yeah, I mean See No Evil Hear
No Evil
was
alone.
fucking amazing.
Oh
like,
my god, that one is. We'll get to that in a little bit, but okay. So the Blazing Saddles. What's great about that monologue though, is that it sounds exactly like a monologue that you would hear out of
a true
Western
Oh, yeah,
movie
for
up
sure.
until Little Bastard Shot Me.
Yeah.
And it's not even just the line. The way he delivers that line with
Oh,
such
little bastard
annoyance.
shot me in the
and-
ass.
It's just- but he gets like a little yippy on it too, in a way that I can't even begin to imitate. But like, there's this little, almost like his voice
That
kind of
reminds
a little.
it just reminds you that it's still a comedy.
Yeah.
Like he gets so serious for a moment, but
Oh man, and the best part too is because Richard Pryor was supposed to be the sheriff at first. Can somebody look up the name of I'm blanking
The guy
here.
who plays
Sam,
him?
I want to say.
yeah, what's his name? Cleveland Little.
Oh, Cleveland. I'm totally off. Okay, Cleveland Little. Sorry, I don't know Cleveland Little more than Blazing Saddles. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I don't know if I've ever seen him in anything.
Cleveland Little. I think I've seen him in a couple things.
But anyway,
He was in. Let's see. He was in Vanishing Point.
Oh, really?
Wow, I didn't know that. Once Bitten. It's a Jim Carrey comedy from 1985 about
Yes!
vampires.
Oh my god! He is in that! I forgot about that shit. Okay, alright, no, he went on to do some other things. Actually, some kind
He
of
was.
really cool
I
things.
think he was the manservant in Once Bitten. That's
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot.
That
but
movie
yeah,
was
you're right.
terrible.
It was terrible, but in a kind of awesome 80s way. Anyway,
Right.
but so the first time the two of them met, basically because the role was for Richard Pryor at first, was during the filming basically of that jail cell scene. Like they had met each other basally like the day before.
So they didn't really know each other.
They didn't know each other at
It
all.
was perfect. That's perfect. You know.
And it was interesting. Okay, so that film happens, and then we go on to Young Frankenstein.
Masterpiece.
And so here's the interesting thing about Young Frankenstein. Okay, it's one of the only films that Mel Brooks has done that he's not really in somewhere. He actually is kind of in that one. They made a statue of his face and like shove it in the corner somewhere.
Right, but he almost always plays.
But he
some
almost
sort
always
of
plays
part
somebody.
in something.
And Gene was really, really insistent that he needed Brooks's like mind completely focused on the film project, and I think he was right. I think that was an amazing decision on his part, because when you're doing something like Frankenstein and turning it into a parody of that level,
Yeah.
you gotta be really careful, because you gotta pay homage correctly.
Yeah.
And still make it really silly and fun, and which they did. I
Fucking
love
watching that when I get home tonight. I hope you realize that.
Young Frankenstein, I think, is really an ingenious interpretation of the Frankenstein story in a lot of ways, because
And it gives it a good happy ending too, you know. It's
It-
like it gives it the comic relief, but like it's what kind of the readers kind of wanted to happen, for
Right.
the sake of their sanity. It's like they got to he was able to save the monster by giving him a piece of his mind, and he got the sex drive from Bat in return.
yeah, but still ultimately it still hit all of the same tones that the original story did. It looked so flawlessly like a classic 1930s
Yep.
Hollywood horror
It was
film.
perfect.
And
It
that's
was
why
so
Mel
perfectly done.
needed to be 100% there as the director, because he needed to be able to actually
make it
bring that
accomplish.
to life that way, and he did.
And I think bringing Mel, because Mel's got so many great stories, so many great movies that like the characters that he plays add to it. I think for him as an actor would have taken away from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously
Yeah.
what they were thinking was that his presence would have taken away. Everyone would have been so focused on whatever his comedic entry would have been
Yeah.
that it it probably would have taken
It's
away.
certainly an angle, but it wasn't Gene's because like, he's actually been like asked about that, like,
Yeah.
and for him at least what he said, like he might have been being polite, and actually that was like the total thought process, like, yeah, you might kind of get in the way of yourself if we
Yeah.
actually throw you in this one. But from his angle, at least the way he says it, it really was about that he needed that film on point from a director's standpoint, and he
Right.
needed Mel's head in that game 100%. He didn't want Mel distracted by anything else. He wanted
That's
it
totally fair.
perfect. And
I was just remembering my favorite line, my favorite sequence in that movie with Gene Wilder is, "I'm wet! I'm in pain and I'm wet!"
yes, oh man, oh man, but all right. But what I'm trying to say here, though,
Sorry.
no, that's fine because that memory is amazing. And it's a phenomenal scene. And it really does showcase just exactly what I was talking about. That there's that stage energy. There's that energy that you would need to be on stage,
Yeah.
having a bit of a meeker voice the way that he does, like
Yeah.
that you to captivate the audience. That's the energy you need. That's the vibrancy that you need. And it wasn't there 100% of the time. Especially in that film, it ranged. Like he was like very reserved until he fucking wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
But again, for matching that original story and going through the beats of like, okay, so there's this new creature and it doesn't know the world and it's scared and you have to kind of teach it and you're both its father and its God at the same time. It hit all these notes, but it hit it in this way that not only was a little bit funnier, obviously, but it was more modernized. And I think that was what was a really like that whole scene of him doing putting on the Ritz
Right.
with the creature.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, shout out to Peter Boyle as Frankenstein's
hell
creature.
yeah, dude.
Oh my God.
Peter Boyle, man, he
Phenomenal.
was great, and may he rest in peace as well.
Yeah, may he
man.
rest in peace as well. That was very sad when we lost him.
Well, dude, did you know also Peter Boyle? Another little fun fact, guys. Since we're probably not going to talk about Peter Boyle anytime soon, but he played. Are you familiar with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay. You know the lawyer that Benicio del Toro played in that movie?
Mhm.
Peter Boyle played that same character in the 1980-something movie Where the Buffalo Roam, where
Oh,
Bill
really?
Murray
Murray is
played.
playing it. Oh
Bill
my
Murray,
God.
Bill Murray played Hunter S. Thompson, and Peter Boyle played
Right.
the lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I
Oscar,
have to go
yeah.
check that back out. This is the one where at some point Hunter S. Thompson is in the cockpit of a plane singing "Lucy is in the Sky with Diamonds," if I'm not mistaken, right?
I haven't seen it in such a long time, and the last time I saw it, I was on a lot of one drug.
Allegedly, anyway. He was allegedly on one drug. Anyway,
Allegedly,
Allegedly.
as far as I remember. But anyway.
But yeah, you know,
Gene-
but
good old
that
Gene.
scene though with putting on the Ritz with the monster and everything, it was such a great demonstration of showing, you know, somebody who's new to the world, you know, really nervous and, you know, trying to play the human game.
Yeah.
And that analogy of it's just putting on a show. You're just putting on a show for everybody.
Yep.
You know, that was really the subtext in the original story when he's trying to like demonstrate for all of the other scientists and show them like his great discovery and everything. It's just like it's okay. You just have to keep it cool. You know, I know you're uncomfortable, but just pretend you're not. Kind of, you know, that was kind of
That's humanity.
Yeah.
That's humanity.
Yep, exactly. And I think we talked about it in the show before, like the big difference between a fantasy and a fiction is the fantasy, all of the exterior parts help to move the storyline. In a fiction, we're examining the human condition. That's the biggest between fantasy and science fiction specifically. I think that's just kind of, you know, where the fiction versus the fantasy. The fantasy, all about the narrative. The fiction, all about the human experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
you know, like a lot of people don't take comedy that seriously and think it's just like, you know, dick and fart jokes and shit like that. With Mel Brooks, it wasn't really that way. Some of his movies, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Robin Hood,
Right.
Men in
and
Tights.
tights. It was a lot of dick jokes and fart
History
jokes.
of the World Part 1? No.
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein?
No.
Blazing Saddles? No.
Well, kind of a mix.
No, it had a lot to do with race, dude.
No.
Come
I'm
on.
not saying. I'm not saying that it didn't have some really important things to say, but there
Whitey.
was an entire scene devoted to beans making you fart.
Well, no shit. Pun intended.
No. But no, you're totally right. And actually, that's I think where the big connection I think between Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks really came into play was that they both saw the fun and the loving embrace that comedy had, but they also saw it for the craft that it was.
Right.
They understood that this was not just simply a thing to just go and entertain people with. That you could actually say something through all this. And I mean, Mel Brooks has been saying a lot, and Gene Wilder has been there for some of the really important. I think two of Mel Brooks' most important films are Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Quite frankly, like if we're gonna get real, those two, back to Peter Boyle, that monologue that he delivers at the end as the creature, that kind of mocks that original monologue from the original story.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and it was. It had all this, again, the same tones and everything, but there wasn't any kind of like update or anything. It wasn't as though like it was any more modern, and it certainly wasn't funny in any sort of way up until the guy with the fake arm jumps in at the very end of it.
Well, dude, that's great. No, I love that dude. He's like the greatest in the entire movie. Like, the inspector that got killed by the last monster, or not killed. I'm sorry.
But got maimed by the last monster. Yes, no, for sure.
But he wasn't even like they use him as a battering ram.
but when
he was a great character.
But up until he breaks the tension of all of that, it's this one that really, like, if you had taken what Mel Brooks had written and stuck it at the end of the original Frankenstein story, all of it would have like totally made sense and actually tracked still. It would have been a bit of a different meaning because he had this sort of different look on it after everything was said and done. But that was what's beautiful about it. It was still serious and it was poetic and it was amazing, but it was something completely new and different and its own interpretation on everything that we had just learned about humanity through this new birth of life. And with Blazing Saddles, I mean, the issues that they were able to talk about through humor, as far as race and as far as political greed and the thought process of what makes a leader.
Right.
Such important things to be discussing, and how he made the whole world who couldn't agree on any of it laugh at all of the same things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what Mel Brooks has been doing through most of his career, is getting people to talk about things that they've been uncomfortable to talk about by making them laugh about it. And again, I think Gene Wilder was there for two of the most important ones, and he helped write those too. Yeah. So I mean, like, this is his work going into it too. These are his observations, and I mean, the man really was, like, we've said it a bunch of times, he was a comical genius, but he was an amazing analytical mind and had a wonderful view of the world. He when you play a role like Willy Wonka, you've got the lines, and you've got, the way that you're supposed to play it and everything. But then there's that sense of wonder. And he didn't just bring it through, like, the mysteries with the cast and everything. I mean, that all helped, but his genuine fascination with life, I think, really, really brought that. I think it's shined through in anything that he, all the way from Willy Wonka to See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Yeah. You could see it in his face all the time. Like, no matter who he was playing or what he was playing, even when he was the drunken cowboy, the Waco Kid. Yeah. You still saw this kind of fascination with life behind everything that he was doing, and that's what he brought to everything. And he was, I think we're winding down here. I'm gonna lower this music. Tonight's music and all the music that we use is provided by Fat Street Beats. It's provided by Purple Planet and Ben Sound. Really great background music, by the way, podcasters, if you're ever looking for anything.
Good stuff.
Yeah. But I just want to take it down and just leave it flat tonight. And
let's have our last thoughts about Gene Wilder here real quick.
Yeah.
Mine would be the 1990s Alice in Wonderland, made for TV movie with Martin Short as the Mad Hatter and Oprah Winfrey as the Cheshire Cat. Fucking amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's actually really good. It actually goes by the book. Fuck Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. The Disney one's great, but they left so much shit out. Gene Wilder plays he's the tortoise in the Nonsense Race.
Oh, okay.
It's great. He's great.
I'll definitely
He's
have to check that out.
So many good people are in that movie. Christopher Lloyd is the White Knight.
I have to see this movie.
I
My
think
goodness.
it's on Netflix.
It's great. If it's not on Netflix, I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I've watched it on YouTube. It's all on there.
Definitely go check that out. Definitely a somewhat lesser known piece to go check out for everybody.
But I'm pretty sure the last thing he ever did was appear on an episode of Will and Grace.
Yeah, and he got an Emmy for it, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was Will, gay Will. He was his boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the last thing he was in.
And he
Oh,
says,
he was on an episode of Yo Gabba Gabba. But we're not gonna talk about it.
that's awesome! I need to
That
watch
was last year.
That's awesome. That was last year.
That was last year.
Oh my
2015.
God. Aquabats were on Yo Gabba Gabba.
But yeah, he was on 2 episodes of Will and Grace, and I'm pretty sure he got an Emmy. Either he won an Emmy or got a nomination for it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the fact of the matter is he
I remember he did have a line in it that said, "I want to thank you from the heart of my bottom." Strike that. Reverse it.
And we would like to thank Mr. Wilder from the bottom of our hearts. And
Absolutely.
we give our condolences to his family and friends. And we hope to see you, Mr. Wilder, in our dreams. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, Geek for all.
Good night.